What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Ben and Jason
Video Cast.
Once again, I'm your host, Jason.
And your other host, Ben.
Yeah, so this week, instead of a traditional movie review or a Tiny Toony Terrors type deal...
Which we haven't done a movie review in ages.
Give them what the fans want, Ben. So... This time, though, we're going to be talking about a con that we went to, a convention in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yep, Monster Mania, which was the first true horror convention that I went with. I mean, I had so many to choose from. I went with that one. That I went with you guys back in 2019.
Yeah, and so we went to the ones in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and then obviously Baltimore. Maryland. So this one didn't really have. So it didn't have Robert Englund. It had the cast from Friday the 13th, or some of them. I think there's 3 Jasons that was there.
You mean 4?
Well, yes. And then Sons of Anarchy, which I'm not sure why that cast was at a horror convention, but that notwithstanding, they were there. Convention though, we got there on a Friday. You didn't come until Saturday.
So I drove separate with my girlfriend. We got there about 5 in the morning, and then later that afternoon we met up and went through the con.
Yeah. And the one thing, though, that's different from the Baltimore con than the Cherry Hill con is that the Baltimore con, the way the hotel's set up, it's kind of weird if you've never been there, because they have a hallway on the first floor. Yeah. And then the main vendors, or not the main vendors, but the majority of the vendors are all downstairs, and so you have to take an escalator down to the...
As you can see right here.
Yeah.
So it's like on the side, and then you go down, and there's more. I will say that this one, like you said, it seemed to be a little lacking. Like it's missing something. I didn't see as many cosplayers here. People dressed up, not as much.
And even the costume contest wasn't as, I guess, as detailed, or people that went all out for the ones that we went to in New Jersey.
So if you watch the one in New Jersey, here, which I'll have a link to later, you can see there was like a bunch of people going up, and all kinds of personalities and stuff. One of the most funnest costume contests that I'd seen. This one is like 4 or 5 people each category.
Yeah, which I didn't really understand. I mean, I figured that they would be a lot more people enthusiastic, especially because that Friday was Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So you would think that most people that was fans of not just Friday the 13th, but horror in general would have came to the convention and dressed up. But overall, I think it was a really good con.
Oh yeah.
We walked through. We got some pretty cool stuff, I think. Vendors are always a little bit different from con to con.
Oh yeah. And a little bit later, an item that I bought was already $30 there, and I bought it at Spirit for $14. I mean, there's boxes and boxes of them, but there's already up pricing, which they're there to make money, and I know it's hard, but there was really nothing that... there was art and stuff that stood out, or some specialty items, but really nothing. I was like, oh, I gotta have it now that I couldn't get.
Yeah, and I think the vendors usually, what I've noticed though is like I always go on Friday, and if I see something that I don't think is going to be there, it's like a one of a kind item, I'll go ahead and get it. But this time though, I mean, I went Friday, Saturday, and then I went back down Sunday morning before we left, just to kind of check things out. Yeah. And almost everything that I had seen was still there, or they had probably changed them in and out. But I mean, it wasn't like in New Jersey when I went back to get that mask and it was gone. So, I mean, that was one of the things I noticed about it.
So you went to a Q&A there. How was it?
So, most Q&As, there's always one person who asks stupid questions about who's your favorite horror icon. Or
if you play Jason, who would you fight in a movie if you could? You know, that kind of stuff.
So I went to the Friday the 13th Q&A, and C.J. Graham was there, and two other Jasons. I can't remember their name. The girl that played. We're really good at this. But it didn't really flow well. And she did mention something about she didn't know how much she could talk about the movie because the writers were on strike.
That's interesting.
And so I was like, really? I mean, if people's asking you a question, though, you know, like somebody asked her a question, and she was like, well, I don't want to dive into too much.
So was she meaning a new movie being written or the old one?
They were just asking, like, she said I didn't want to. She said she didn't want to step across the lines of since actors and writers were on strike or something like that. So I didn't understand because they were in a Q&A, and she looked over to the, you know, Dave, the main guy that's over the Monster Con. Dave. She looked over. What's up, Dave? She looked over to him to see if it was okay, and he was like, "You can say anything you want to say. You're at a Q&A." So. That we had stepped in. They had the Sons of Anarchy, and I had never seen that show.
I've seen part of the first season. Life. It's fun to watch, but that's about it.
So I had no idea really who any of those people were, and we had got there probably 20. So they had the Sons of Anarchy Q&A, and then right after that was the Friday the 13th. Well, we were going for the Friday the 13th, so we got there probably 20 minutes before, but the Sons of Anarchy was still finishing up. And then right after the Friday the 13th was the costume contest. So I just wanted to be in that room just to stay there.